forgot to grab Post-it. We are live.
Oh, we're good. Okay, so today is July 28th, and this is the Finger Lakes Regional Land Bank meeting, and we have a quorum, so we'll go on to approval of the June 23rd, 2026 regular minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. So are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Alrighty, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? No one was opposed. So we do have a few updates that Joe is gonna go over. He's gonna start out with Roman numeral 5 first, and then he'll go from there, whatever order he wants to pick, but he's gonna start with 5 first.
Sure. So for the HCR Land Bank Initiative, a few updates on that grant program and where we're at with it. HCR has just released a new opportunity for pre-development and technical assistance. And what they're now doing is requiring that to apply for the future capital funding, you need to do a technical assistance pre-development grant first to put your project together, to put together the project to ensure that the project at the end of the day produces housing units. So they can count more effectively, I think, might be part of the motivation for doing it this way. And looking at what and how we've been pursuing projects previously, in a lot of ways, HCR is basically saying that now everybody has to do it the way that we're doing it. So especially looking at the Seneca Housing Project in Overland Willard, that tracks the closest to what HCR is asking that we do. So on that one, we had properties. We went through an extensive pre-development process where we went and got the zoning approvals. We did all of the initial drawing, grant applications, and we brought to the capital program a fully fleshed out proposal that is now producing units. We're in partnership. I'm not sure if the agreement says co-development or not, but it's called co-developer. We're a co-developer on that one. So with the capital funds, we've been part of the project team, the decision-making team going forward through that. And I think that has resulted in the project staying on track, staying on schedule, and being able to weather all sorts of unsuitable soils and things like that without having to come back to this board. So basically, every other talking point here kind of flows back to, are we a co-developer or are we not? For some of our other project updates and other issues. So, FLRLBC is our next update. So we do have a resolution. We are not a co-developer on this project, not yet. We've been working to put this project together for quite some time. That's why Margaret has come today. So this all started way back with an MOU with the Land Bank and the Community Services Board, Mental Health Department, and FLRLBC to produce and partner to produce supportive housing units, which addresses our affordability needs, our regular housing needs, but also helps take some of the burden off of the temporary assistance program department by providing long-term stable housing for people coming out of the motels. So this 55 Washington Street in Walnut project is kind of the first pilot test case for that hopefully ongoing series of projects if we can continue to do them. So we've had a few different meetings. Basically, last couple months, weeks, on the long term, about issues with soil suitability and debris left on site, especially at 55 Washington Street. And our intention and what Black Road was expecting was we were going to bring them a clean and ready to build site. And that's not what we delivered. And I think we're going to have an executive session for some of that conversation later. But pending that, we're trying to make sure that the project comes together and that we're able to help them get it over the line. So last meeting, we brought to the board a resolution, I think it was authorizing $170,000 for disposal and importing of new suitable soils for the foundations and everything. That estimate was based on an assumption of what the expected cost was going to be for disposal. And in that time since then, those costs have come back, and they were much higher than anticipated. We also, there's all sorts of environmental testing and that kind of stuff that's involved with the project now that wasn't expected to begin with. So I added an amount for services, professional services for all that stuff to the total. So we have a resolution today, basically bringing that full amount to $220,000 to solve the issues and move forward. So this would be primarily from the LBI capital, and how this process is playing out is essentially, it's like we were bringing the construction meetings as they were going to you because we weren't part of the project already. So Esther right now is working on a contract with Flagler's attorney of what this is going to look like. All this would have been done previously, or had been done previously in the Seneca housing exam. Because it wasn't, because we're coming in now, because we're expecting to be out of it, we're not out of it. We're needing to do this on the fly while the project is happening. So as they did the testing and as they continue to work the problem and the prices continue to increase, that's why we were needing to come back at this point and ask for this amount that is a rough order of magnitude. And I think that's kind of contractor talk for, we believe this is the most amount of money it could possibly be. And that's how much we're gonna quote it for, to make sure that you can have available so that we can move forward. I will say, in the Seneca housing example, for the same family of issues, unsuitable soils, debris, that kind of stuff, we had a rough order of magnitude cost of $127,000 that needed to be change ordered and worked through. We were able to do that because we were already part of the project, and it just kind of happened as the construction meetings went by. And at the end of the day, that totaled out to be $89,000, so significantly cheaper than what the estimate was. I'm hoping a similar scenario plays out here, where the up to amount that we don't hit, and that's why it's written as an up to. The resolution is also written, and you'll see in your packet, there is a piece of paper with a bunch of yellow on it. This is the list of change orders, essentially. So the contract as it's drafted, and I believe the resolution says that we're only going to be reimbursing for these change orders, the work associated with these items, which the issues at 55 Washington Street make up essentially half of them. So, yeah. I'd like to open the floor for discussion.
Okay, so Joe and I talked earlier, and my thing is on this resolution, pretty simple. Last meeting, we gave the project $170,000. Okay? And we did that because, well, when they got there, obviously the contractor, we had to knock it down, didn't do the proper work, left a lot of debris there. The engineering firm that's doing this project estimated the tonnage at the landfill to be $30 a ton. Instead of putting a dime in the payphone and calling the landfill and ask how much it costs per ton for CD stuff, $55 a ton. Okay, so they estimated 27,000, $27,000 for debris. Really, it's $55 a ton, so that's an extra 22,500. So when you add it together, it comes out to be around 50 grand. We gave the project 170,000, so that still leaves 120,000 of money we did. The project has $100,000 from the state for contingency. So they have a contingency fund with our 170 and their 270,000. Now, on the resolution, it says we're going to give an extra 20,000. But when you subtract 223,000 from 170,000 or 190,000, because 20 and 70 is 190, there's still a discrepancy of $53,000. So in other words, we're, in the resolution, it says give them 20, but it's really 53,000 because 20 and 70 is 190, but 53,000 and 170 comes up to 223. So we're giving the project an additional 50,000, which I'm not in favor of, because we are correcting the problem that we created with 170,000. I don't believe it's going to cost more than 170. I'm not an engineer, but I know how to call the landfill and ask them how much it costs a ton. I know how to do that. So we know how much it costs to move it. Bringing in some dirt and some soil. Stone is cheap. You know, stone is $8 or $9 a ton. You know, you can get a lot of stone for 100 grand filled in a hole. So I'm just saying, the project is going to go on whether or not this resolution passes. I'm going to vote against it simply because I don't think we need to give any more money to the project at this time. Let it go, see how far it goes, and if they need some money at the end, they can come back and say, voila, we need some money. Or at the next meeting, when they start bringing the debris to the landfill, we could do it. We also could meet with the landfill manager, Mr. Black, and say, hey, you know, this is a government project. Could we get a little better rate for the thing? And I'm willing to go with somebody. If anybody wants to raise their hand to meet with Kyle, I'm going to see him Friday in the Republican golf tournament. So are you. We could pull him aside and talk to him. And so I just can't vote for it because the numbers don't add up. 20 and 53 don't add up. 20 and 170 come to 190. You're raising it to 223. That's a $53,000 raise, not a $20,000 raise. But that's my story. So that's how I feel about it. I'm not against this project. It's a good deal. Good project, helps a lot of people out, makes the community look better, helps some people that have disabilities. I'm glad we're doing it. But I don't think we need to give it another $53,000. Not at this time, anyway. They haven't even spent $1 million yet. They haven't spent $50,000 yet. I don't know. You know, nobody can give me a number on how much they've spent. So that's where I'm at.
And I don't mind moving this resolution forward just because of my understanding about how the whole financing of these things works. That we were supposed to give them a clean piece of property, and they base their project off of that. And what we're saying is that I don't believe they can easily pay, because this funding has all gone through the state by different lines. And I've gone through the process of just trying to change out a door frame with the state, and they'll hold up the project for 6 weeks just trying to get these change orders. I would prefer to make sure that we have, that we go to we have the funding. It's still, the state has no problem with us using this funding for this purpose. And in the end, I just feel like that I don't think the possibility of do the project, they're not gonna be able to pull the money out of here, do the project, and then come back and get the state's approval to change that money around, and then also come to us at the end with a detailed list of like, well, turns out we only needed, 32. And then we give it to them. I just don't see the money flows that way in the construction projects that I've been working with, particularly when you have a couple different funding sources from the state.
Well, they haven't even, okay, why didn't anybody bring the invoices of how much money they spent on that $170,000 we gave? If we gave the project $170,000 for our poor judgment, I don't know if it's poor judgment, but we had a bad contractor, we should be suing, but that's gonna be later, we'll figure that out. But, that person did a bad job. We're given $170,000 to cure that. How do we know we're even gonna spend $170,000? Why are we gonna give an additional $53,000 today when we don't even know if we spent 65 cents of that $170,000? Where are the invoices or a bill or a voucher that shows how much we've spent of the $170,000 we've given them? We're just giving the project money to give them money so we don't have to have another meeting. I'm available, I'm retired, I can come to any meeting. The treasurer's here every day. Joe works here, you work here. He's down the street at the Village of Waterloo. We're all available. It's not like we're coming from Kansas City to this meeting. That's all I'm saying. I'm pretty strong about just giving money to a project that we've already given $170,000 to correct our problem that we created. And we don't have an invoice to show we've spent $1. Okay, so that's it. That's where I am.
What if we amended the resolution that prior to any payments, they need to be approved by the board?
What's that?
What if we amended the resolution saying it's an up to amount committed, and then there was another resolve that prior, that we don't go through the normal signature process for checks? So like when a contract gets approved and we get an invoice, Jill's got to sign it, I've got to sign it for internal controls, and then we can pay it. What if, for this one, prior to payment, the board has to approve the payment? So we commit it now, and then we'll bring you the invoices at the end of the month for the next couple of months, and you can look at them and say.
Now, I'm not gonna vote to approve another $53,000. I don't care what you change on the signatures. The point is, you're asking for another 53. Well, in the resolution, you're asking for 20,000. But when you get the total, it comes out to be 53. So I'm not in favor of an additional 53,000. You might want to negotiate some other number, but I'm not in favor of the 53.
So the numbers in the resolution, what I did was I took the latest and greatest rough order of magnitude number from Flagler's contractor at 203,010. And then I added 20,000 to that for potential soft costs, environmental testing and things. Some of which they have surely already expended, because part of the reason the delay for getting the rate from Seneca Metals was that the waste had to be characterized. And doing that, you need to have it tested all different ways. And you got to pay somebody to do that. And that's part of what the soft costs would have been, and it's why calling the landfill a couple of weeks ago to get the rate. They can't give you the rate until the tests are done. So this is back to the issue of we're getting into the project late after hoping that we were going to be done. Now that we're in the project, or pretty close to being in the project, what is kind of playing out here are the discussions that would normally be occurring during the regular construction meetings, where we would figure out how to handle this as we go, as just the regular rhythm of the project. That's kind of been disrupted because of all the issues that we have. So what we're needing to do is get ourselves into the, basically into the development team for this project. And the rough order of magnitude is high because it is the rough order of magnitude, like it's what it might cost. I don't expect that it will be this high, but at the end of the day, it could be. And I think if we're working on and trying to drive a successful outcome for this, what I think could be a good, successful, longer-term program, like I want to show that we're in good faith working with FLRLBC. Like the 170 was the first step of that, but because the project is continuing to evolve and ongoing, like the number changed because we got more information, because they're continuing to work the issue and figure out exactly what they believe it's going to cost. And that number is going to be the same whether we commit 170 or 203 or 223. At the end of the day, like that's still the rough order of magnitude, and that's like what FLRLBC would need to demonstrate that they have access to for funding to be able to essentially move forward.
I
Well,
mean,
did
and
you
that,
ever think that these people may be overcharging them? That could be a problem too. I mean, when I was on the town board, I dealt with engineering firms all the time. They come in with the numbers, 30% contingency fund. I voted against all those, right? Till they brought it down to some other reasonable number. 30% contingency is not feasible. Look at your own life. Where do you put 30% contingency on anything you buy? When you go buy a car, a house, food, you figure when you go in, oh man, I need 30% more than I think it's gonna cost the last time it was there. It's unrealistic. These numbers are nuts.
I know, and I get it, I run into this all
They
the
got
time.
with our money, they've got $2.7 million to do this project. Do the project. Do something. That's all I'm saying.
I'm fine, I'm still fine with doing this up to, just because, like you said, Frank, you know, these projects they're funded by the state funding, so they need to have the level of testing and oversight and the reporting that ends up going on, that it's not anything that a private individual or private business has to face. The amount of oversight just is the stuff that 30% comes in. Every time he does a test, we have to go out on three different people.
But Jill, when these people do something, the firm comes in, the building firm, the engineering firm, whoever, they come in with a number that this is what's gonna cost. Then they add 30% on top of that. Now, what kind of reasonable person lives like that? I don't believe it's regulations or anything like that. Look, this is not the first rodeo for the state of New York building something. you know, and it's not the first rodeo for these people that are building it too. You know, if this was something new that's never happened before, you know, you're making a rocket to go to Mars, there's a problem, but this is just a building.
I get
And
it,
you're filling
but
in a
at the
hole.
same time,
And
it is something
You're
new that-
taking some dirt and rocks, and there's no radiation, there might be some asbestos or something, but there's no radiation, and the landfill is not gonna take anything with radioactive substances in.
I get it,
I
but I do
dealt
think
with the
when-
landfill on the town of Seneca Falls for many years, even before I was on the board. This is just C and D junk. We're gonna put it in a special spot in the landfill and cover it up, okay?
And I get that, but I do believe the bigger picture is that this is something that the community has never done before. That the
That's why
land
I
bank
invited Margaret.
and ask Margaret and, you know, the different studies we've done. So yes, and we're also learning the difference between, as we've already discussed, being a co-developer, that we're along all the process, and what we were with Flapper, which is, we thought, we're gonna give you a piece of clean property, we're gonna help you with your grant application, and you're gonna go. And then we're out, and we're cool. But the problem was, we got jammed up. So I hate for this whole process to continue to get jammed up over something that is new and innovative, and the state is starting to take notice of these kind of things, and they don't have a problem with us using this money for this purpose. So I would just, for the benefit of the project and the new initiative, that this is really sort of a pilot program. I don't have any problem saying, put it up to, like you said, it may not, it's the highest, so hopefully it doesn't happen, but I'm just, yeah, I'm just concerned about
Because they
keeping the
got
project
engineers or project managers that did a bad job and doing estimates on how much things are gonna cost, we've gotta bail them out, and we have, 170,000. We made a great contribution, we made the contribution of the land, 170,000, you know, I don't, you know, we had a bad contractor, we're trying to do the best we can. Now, the people that are doing the job, they claim it's gonna be a $203,000 to dig out the stuff and bring it to the landfill. Well, we know the landfill cost is 50 grand. Okay, so 50 from 203 is 150,000. It's gonna take $150,000 to do what? To fill in a hole? They're not gonna fill in the hole, they're gonna make a basement probably.
They gotta fill in the hole
Okay,
with,
so it's not, I guarantee, let's go get out of this meeting, let's call the highway superintendent and find out how much it costs for a ton of stone to fill in that hole, and then put it into 150,000 and see how many tons of stone we can do. Get the square footage of that hole, and then we'll figure out the cubic feet of stone we need to do it. That's the kind of stuff you gotta do. I'm not an engineer, but I know how to fill in a hole.
I think Margaret's gonna say something.
Yeah, well, I actually just have, this is all new to me, I'm just learning about this, so, I'm just actually, I have a question, or I wanna make sure I understand. What I'm hearing is that there's been these errors, and as a result, there's additional costs in order for Flacker to be able to move forward. Am I also hearing that and I do know that end of it, right? So if they're getting funds from the state to do this project, and they can't show the state that the funding is available to them at the potentially highest rate that it could cost them, that might mean on their end that they won't get any of their funding to continue with the project. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm hearing that that's a possibility, or maybe I'm misunderstanding, that by not moving forward and providing evidence in the form of a resolution to FLACRA to provide to their funder, that they may not be able to move forward. Is that accurate?
It very well could be.
We don't know that.
Well, and then I'm also hearing.
I think it's a pretty fair assumption though.
Well, they've done a lot of these, so I suspect if they're that concerned, they probably have run into these things before potentially, I don't know. Again, this is all news to me, so I don't have an opinion, I'm just trying to understand. And the other thing that I'm hearing, I think, is that essentially this is not necessarily gonna cost us or you any more. You're just giving them that, I forget what you called it,
The rough order of magnitude.
the rough order of magnitude so that they can move forward with this project. And that you're gonna be drawing down only what it costs. And in fact, then bringing those invoices and such to this board for review potentially.
Because
So for 2%, 50,000 is 2% of this project. They're not gonna do this project for 2%. It's, well, then the state doesn't do it. Then they're stupid if they don't do it for 2%.
Can you also just clarify the numbers here, because I feel like I'm missing something with the 170. The, so, do you mind if I do this? Do you mind?
No.
I just want to clarify that previously what has been approved, I believe, Esther, correct me if I'm wrong, my difference, is up to 105,000. Not 170. So I just want to make sure that we're all talking about the same numbers. And then, and again, to Margaret's point, no money changes hands until there's an invoice. So it's not like we're just gonna carve them a check.
You don't forgive them a grant and they do with what they want.
If they only spend 50 grand, well, that's all the money that will change hands. And then the rest of the money stays in the land bank initiative and everything. And so they only see the money that is actually
Okay, so
necessary.
you're saying you know that they've spent 105,000 over 170?
No, they need to be able to show the state that they have the money available to do the work that's
Well, we
necessary.
gave them
They have the
170.
money to
So
do testing.
how much of the 170 have they spent?
170, I don't know where that number's
That
going.
came at the last meeting. We voted,
We voted on 105.
And then do we add,
no, we did 170, I thought.
The resolution says 105.
okay, we also did 105.
Okay, so now it's going up 123,000. I wish I could vote twice. I wish I would have
And
voted.
again, the point
Vote
is
for it
to
once.
say, the engineers are telling us it could cost $223,000. It will only actually come out of the land bank, the actual cost of fixing the problem.
Okay, so,
And that's what the agreement we're working on is gonna say, just if that was useful information, is that they're not gonna get money except for by sending in the correct invoices and documentation, that there's gonna be a certain amount of draws, and so there'll be some control.
so we did 105?
That's, I'm double checking, but that's how, when I wrote this resolution, it's built, the idea, or amended resolution, I think is actually, it's a little bit
I
confusing.
thought it was 170.
I think Yeah. We went right up to 105 last time. So we start, we do one resolution where we give 20, then we come back and we do a resolution where we go, so that up to 20, then we go, okay, up to 105, not up to 125. So we are now at 105.
Yes,
So that's the jump from 105 to 223.
that was correct.
And the 170, that very well could have been a transposition error on my end, because I think of write everything down, that whole thing. But, so,
Okay, so now 105 and we're going to 223. We subtract there. Oh, they're all zeros.
What happens if there's remaining
That's
funds?
116,000 more. That's 2 times what I was talking about. More
so
than 2 times.
if we,
2 times
Like,
plus.
if we're asking for 223, but it doesn't cost us that, we only spend 190, where's, Martha, when you ask for something like that, where's the remaining one?
we never give it to them.
No, so it's a drawdown. So if I get a grant from the feds right now, for example, I have $1 million grant.
Yeah.
I only draw down actual costs. I have to send in all my backup to the feds. I have to justify the use.
For reimbursement.
It's reimbursement based.
Reimbursement, okay.
Correct.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you when I look.
Yes, it's a reimbursement based, and a lot of grants, that's how they work. You don't just get the money, and it sounds like that's how you guys.
And that's how.
Yeah, it's just reimbursement based.
So then that money could be theoretically.
Right.
Right, so if they don't use it all. So just confirm, resolution 2625, which is the one at the prior meeting, was resolved
for a commitment to reflect up to 105,000. So that's not in addition, that's where we're at now, so that we'll be able
So there might have been some confusion about the 120 and then, or the 20 going up to 105, and adding and subtracting and, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, for the life of me, I will write down the wrong number on a piece of paper. But I think, again, this is the same flavor of problems that we were dealing with in Ovid and Willard for the Seneca housing project. And as being on the project team, we were able to handle it and deal with it in-house as we went. Because we're coming in, the plan was different on this one, and I think going forward, if we were going to partner on an HHAP thing project again, we would structure it differently, no matter what the end of the day plan was going to be, to make sure that when we're working with a nonprofit partner like Seneca Housing or Flagra, that we are able to be at the table to help manage these types of issues with the resources that they're there for. This is the reason we have this money, is to make these projects go. And
I just add a little nuance here too.
Sure.
The 105 was pretty early in looking at this problem. And so the 105 was a reassuring Flagra that we're in the game here. Like, we're gonna correct this. They had some preliminary kind of guesses. Well, not guesses. They had some preliminary costs. But they needed to do that testing. They needed to have the engineer look at the site and come back with a rough order of magnitude cost. So those were some preliminary figures prior to doing testing, and really reassuring them that we're not going to leave the pay.
So you said they did some testing. What did they find in the test that is so terrible? What was there? Radiation, asbestos, aluminum? What did they find there? What mineral made the test so bad? What is it? Where is the?
I can't remember
Where's the
exactly.
report so I can look at it?
It was a bunch of, it's class 5 of the standards for soil reuse. So if this was a commercial building, it would be able to be left in place. It's not a commercial building. And the other issue on top of that is that was just the soils, the structural part of it. You can't leave it in place because it's not stable, because there's debris in it. So there's kind of two issues at play, if that makes sense. So
No, that doesn't make any sense, because you're not telling me what is driving up the cost. What is there what is it? What's there that's so terrible that the landfill can't take it? Or it's gonna cost $55 a ton? What's in there? Where's the report? So, you're asking for now another $116,000. What is there? I wanna know before I can vote on putting another $116,000. What is there that's so terrible? It's Waterloo, New York. What's there?
it's not that it's so terrible, it's just, there's a lot of it. I am happy to.
There's a lot of it,
So,
Joe, and they estimated 90 tons, and that's gonna come at $55 a ton. They estimated 30, you said now it's 55. 55, that's gonna be $50,000 for that. That's 50 grand to take the debris. Now we got a big hole. Okay, how much is it gonna cost to fill the hole? Now I know, I've done other projects in my life. You gotta compact the stone, you gotta bring in certain stone. But stone is cheap. It's cheaper than $55 a ton. My point is, the material that you're taking out costs more and the material that you gotta bring in. If labor is there, labor is a standard cost. Whether you're dumping it out of a dump truck or you're putting it in a dump truck to take away. Labor costs are standard. And that's all I'm saying. If there's something here, where's the paperwork to go up another 116,000? That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. And we've got the money. Why don't we make it a resolution for 500,000? Let's just make it for 500,000. What the hell's the difference? If they spend it, they spend it. If they don't, listen, if you give your kid 50 cents, he only spends 50 cents. If you give him $10, he spends $10. If you give this company more and more money, they will spend it. They're humans. That's all there is to it. Human beings. Where's their morality? You spending government money.
So we don't have $500,000 to give them. This is about all we can stand with the current budget and the current way that LBI capital award is playing out. I think this is, we've arrived at the point where this is the estimate that we're needing to, or it's gonna be moving forward working under. Like, they know they've completed the testing, they've done what they need to do with the landfill. They've
Okay,
done the
Joe,
contract.
let me interrupt you. Okay, how much did it cost for the testing? Now, I remember when we did the site over there, where the places where they do the clothing, or what do they call it? Dry cleaner?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, cleaner.
I think we spent about $15,000 to do the testing there. And then they removed all the debris, Sessler came in, moved everything for like 35,000, but like 17 feet deep, whatever. But all I'm saying is, the testing doesn't cost that much. Some testing only costs $1,500. I'm giving those people a break saying 15,000. A lot of this, you know, when you do the type 1 testing and then go to the type 2, it starts costing you a little more money. So we don't know what the testing is. That's the whole problem here. We don't know what anything costs. And we've donated out of our funds $105,000 for the project. We have no invoices, we have no bills. We don't know anything they've spent on the 105, and we want to give them another 116,000. What does that do? That cuts us out. Then those engineers and people will meet with Joe, and they'll decide how much money they gotta spend without meeting with us, which is fine. But like I said earlier, we're not coming from Kansas City. If we had a meet or do something by email or telephone, you know, we could work it out. And we meet every month. So I don't know. I think we've said enough about it. We just, when we come to the resolution, we'll vote. And you know how I'm gonna vote no, so there you go. I'm only one lousy vote.
Your indemnification that you're looking at right now, that's part of here's what we're gonna.
Yeah, how we're gonna, so this is the money we have to give you, but how are we gonna give it to you? And what are you getting for it? What are you getting for it? And how does this work? And you're not in fact wanting to be your long-term partner in this project, that was never the plan.
Right.
The issue, of course, I think is just pointed out, but we put a finer point on it, is this is not just some person we're just handing the property to and saying, sorry.
Right.
You know, it's not what we thought we'd give you, but it is what it is. This is a community partner that we've tried over a couple of years to build this relationship with. And so we are in fact trying to, you know, like you talked about, Frank, we are gonna try to get our money back from that contractor potentially, but we're willing in the short term to let the project go forward. It's what we talked about last time, like with 105, okay? Let the project go forward in the meantime and we'll put the money up. And so it just changes a little bit of the dynamic, I think, and maybe what Joe was alluding to, talking about, you know, these new pilots and how we're having these relationships. I think one thing we have learned is that we're never out of it when it's a community partner. We're just never gonna be able to do a sort of like, we found a great lot, but we're not gonna go let you guys take it. I think what we found is we're always gonna be part of it, and so we should structure it that way. And that does put us in a little bit of a bind, I think, to your point, Frank, which is we want oversight of this money. We don't want it to be handing it willy-nilly, but we're not
dealing with strangers, we're not dealing with people who aren't gonna deal with it again, or the people we don't wanna work with again, so that we're trying to make their project happen in the ways in which we can do it and where we feel it's responsible, and that's attention. And you identified attention there, but I think it would be a shame if the project wasn't able to go forward, so.
Right. And I think we've surely learned a lot along the way. And I think there is a great deal of need. I mean, we talk about this all the time for these types of units, and they're hard to do. Case in point. And we've developed a structure utilizing the LBI funds to make these projects go. And I think going forward, we would like Blackbird to want to do this again with us. And I think there are definitely ways, looking back at how all this went, where from my perspective, it was like, next time, if we demo something, we're gonna do an RFQ process first, and we're probably gonna end up paying more money for demolitions than we ever had before, but we're gonna get it done in a way that facilitates this type of project moving forward, where we know it's gonna be something like this. So I'm hoping that we can get this set up in a way where this project gets done and it delivers the value to the community and to the folks that Margaret serves with our department, and allows us to continue to do it. And Blackbird is like, yeah, we'll work with them again. And then the next time we do it, this type of issue, we'll know how to manage, and we'll manage it by having a different RFQ process and RFP process for demolition, if it's a demolition project. And we'll also be at the table with the capital funds ahead of time to make sure we're not needing to continually come back to the board every time there is a decision to be made. Okay.
Where are we in this agenda?
Not far, and I can run through the rest of these pretty quick, and then we can just do the resolutions.
I think that one.
Well, I'll probably take us deeper into this, so if you want to finish those other things, I'll come back to it.
Was it about this project?
Yeah, I was just gonna, so, I mean, I think where Frank's concerned, and all of us would be concerned, is there's gotta be some accounting and accountability for before the money's spent, or as the money's spent, there's some accounting to say, okay, somebody's looking at this, there's some oversight. I guess I'm struggling a little bit with how that should be worded. We basically made a deal to give them a property, right? And the understanding was that property would be on certain conditions for them to move forward. And then the hurdle we got into was it wasn't in the condition. So our real recourse is whoever did the demolition, maybe back to that. So some of what Frank's concerns are, if we had recourse, would make him probably feel better, all of us, which we don't have right now because we still have to figure that part out. So to move forward, I think what I'm hearing you say, Margaret, is that the way Blackbird works, they've got certain requirements that they can't move unless they have enough money
So that
to,
they can show that
they have the capital.
that they have the capital.
So I think the bridge we need is somewhere where we can say we have an accounting oversight process, that they can't just take the money we authorize and spend it. That's your real work, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. And when you look at the cost, see, I'm not there. I don't weigh the stuff. But the engineers make an estimate. They say there's 90 tons. Okay. They estimated $30 a ton for CD. They didn't call the landfill. Then they call after the fact, somebody called, it's $55 a ton. All I'm saying, the difference is 22,000. So $25 of times 90 is 22,500. So they were off by 22,500 for disposing of the material. So we gave 105. So 50 grand goes to removing the material. Now Joe is saying they're gonna fill in the hole. They're gonna fill that in. It isn't gonna take $50,000 of material to fill it in, because stone costs less than $55 a ton.
And
And,
it means, you keep saying stone, but I don't know if it, can it be stone? I don't know.
what are you gonna, they're not gonna fill it with concrete.
So Frank, can I ask a question? Would your concerns, which I think I think you have good concerns. Would your concerns be alleviated to some extent if every time they drew down money, the board looked at those invoices and you would see? So they're not gonna, if it only cost $10,000 to put in the stone or whatever it is that they put in, then that's all you're gonna pay them.
I know, but
So they're not gonna, so you know what I'm saying?
they must have they've made an estimate now. They told Joe it's gonna be 203,000.
So you wanna see the estimate?
Yeah, how much, what are they doing for the 203?
Is that something you can get?
Not right now.
Not right now. Yeah.
I can,
Well, I mean, not the second, obviously, but.
Listen, I
I can
came
bring this up
into
to
this
the
meeting
meeting.
thinking it was 170,000. I was good with 107. I thought we gave 170. I was okay with that number. I didn't negotiate anything. That's what I did for a living. Negotiated contracts. So, I'm good with 170 grand. Even though we gave 105 and doing a 65% increase is crazy. I never heard of anything like that in my life. But I thought the actual number was 170, and I met with Joe and talked to him about it, and I was happy with the 170. I thought we approved 170. I was good with 170. So I'm good with 170, and that's it. That's my bottom line, 170. 170 and $1, and I'm voting no. Okay?
So Jen, what we have to fill in is the reason it went up again was input that we received, right, Joe?
yeah, so when, they discovered the problem, right? And they had to stop work, which this is the first thing you do is take a hole. They did test pits and things like that, all sorts of sampling to figure out what needs to come out, what can stay. There's environmental professionals involved in deciding what can come out and what can stay. And that process takes time, and it takes a couple of different iterations of the current estimate is for this, but we still have to do X, Y, and Z to land on the final rough order of magnitude number. And to Tracy's point, we were in the middle of that process at the last meeting. We're now
Further along.
we're now further along.
I don't know if this is helpful or not. I got the July pay app in front of me, so I can see how much the construction had spent as of July 8th. But it's been 20 days since then. And I can say that there was $145,845.71 spent as of July 8th. Overall, just on the digging, excavation, any kind of starting site mobilization, fencing, all that kind of stuff. They had already spent $145,000
They spent 145.
as of 20 days ago.
But all of
As of
that,
20 days
but
ago.
that's for moving the equipment and,
And then,
all that. There's a lot of other things in that 145,000. It all isn't for, how much stuff have they brought to the landfill? Have they brought it all to the landfill?
I don't think they started that.
They can't do it because everybody, there's funding.
Right.
They don't know. if
They haven't moved anything. Where are they piling? They just digging it and move it from.
It's still in the ground.
It's still in the
They haven't
ground.
moved, they stopped, right?
We haven't stopped work.
They stopped work?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we know what,
Until they.
So they spent 145,000 doing what? Somebody knocked the building down. That's gone.
That's already paid for, right?
That's paid for, right?
That's paid for.
We paid those birds.
Yeah, that's,
So they spent $145,000 doing what? How much did they bring to the landfill? We don't know
We didn't
nothing.
bring
We're
anything.
dumber than a box of rock
This
here.
is all,
I'm
so
sorry.
I mean, I
I'm
can tell
saying-
you,
Frank,
I can tell you.
I got it anyway, we don't have them right in front of you, we don't know these kind of level of questions are gonna come up. But this is
All right.
this is how we constantly work. They submit invoices, we review them, then they submit, and then we sign off. It's not that we're giving them $220,000.
Frank, I would be glad to meet with you and go over anything if that's all allowed or whatever to help.
Well, I'm still gonna vote no. I'm willing to go to 170 and that's it, because that's how much I thought we were allocating. I didn't realize it was 105. I thought it was 107. So I thought it was 170. And I mean, so, I'm willing to budget like a 60-some% increase, which is, way above my nature. I would never agree to 60% on anything in my life. Not even in a 3-year contract, like the cops came in, I'm 60%.
So what number does that get us to then?
But, I would never do that in a million years, but because I thought it was 170, I was satisfied with that. I wasn't willing to give any more than 170. I could live with 170. But if it's 1 cent over there, I'm going no, and that's just, I'm only one vote, that's all. There's other votes here.
Yeah, I know, but we're missing a few, so.
I can't do it, so I'm not gonna vote yes.
A good portion of the 145, is some of those upfront costs like insurance, bonding, performance bonds.
We're not paying for any of that junk.
No, we're
No,
not.
we're
I'm just
not.
saying,
But
this is
that's
the
what
total
they-
project
that's what they
budget.
are.
That's what they
We're,
need.
we're just paying for
Yes.
taking stuff to the landfill
So,
and filling in
yes.
the hole. What the contractor didn't do, and some testing of some dirt.
So the 145 was the beginning of the construction.
How much did they
project.
spend on testing dirt?
That I can't pull out
Oh,
of the paper.
Well,
But the
why
paper,
don't,
the
I'm sorry. Resolution 26, 20, I make a motion, we table the resolution for 30 days.
I think
Till we get more information.
correct me if I'm wrong, the problem with not moving ahead, or at least 30 days, you may have to come back in 10 days, is their timeline, the Blacker's timeline. That's part of the problem with doing this every 30 days.
Oh, we might be back on Thursday. So,
Well,
Lay it on the table indefinitely.
I'm willing to go to 170, that's it.
I mean, I don't know if the process would allow for a phased approach where you get 170, but the resolution says we're appropriating 170, and then everything after 170 has to come. We're getting up to 203, 170 is a given under this agreement that I'm writing, and then from 107 to 170 to 203 to come back to the.
170 is it for me. That, look,
But then at that point, you'd have more
when
information.
I buy something, I look at it and say, gee, this is what it's gonna cost. And I'm happy with paying it, because I believe that's what it's gonna cost. I'm not happy with 223,000 for taking some junk to the landfill. That's only gonna cost 50,000. Then filling in a hole, it's gonna cost less than 50,000 for materials and labor, because it's the same labor cost to take this stuff away. So I'm not gonna vote for it. I'm just gonna vote no on this resolution, no matter what. That's
So
it.
perhaps
I'm done.
instead of tabling.
I'm done talking about it.
I was gonna
It's not.
table it to actually have
No.
something right that was.
Oh,
Yeah, I was gonna second his table, because I have nothing.
I was gonna say, well, we're not gonna have to do it. And that's that.
For the project, there's not,
we're gonna be all right, but it's not.
she's done her,
Well, it's a straw vote, so you can understand if you need to table it.
Okay.
But I don't know if you want
I mean, giving us numbers,
If
but
you
I
want
don't
to see
have.
where they're at, then we can also table it.
we're giving 105,000. Sounds like they haven't spent hardly any of our money.
We haven't given anybody any money, right?
No.
The board has said what we are willing to spend under an agreement that includes submissions and a reimbursement model. That's all we've said so far. That's what we're willing to spend is 105. That's what we've got authority for. That
Yeah.
they understand that we have authority to give. What we'd be doing today is giving authority up to 223 for the same model, where they have to submit and they were reimbursed.
So Lester, you're saying they can spend $105,000 on anything they want? That's just
No.
not
No.
for removing
No.
the
On
debris.
soil, on what you said, on land, and sending it to the landfill.
So how much debris did they remove?
They cannot
They
remove
can't
anything.
remove
They can't, they know they have the money.
We gave them
to pay for it.
$105,000 last month, they haven't moved one freaking rock. Give me 20 Italians, we'd have had that thing cleared in 20 days.
Wow.
All right, Frank, if they started working and then we came back, can we
It's
get,
just like the
can
sewer
we
inside the
get,
farm, I told the town supervisor. Took six years, we haven't put a shovel in the ground yet. Well, you give me 20 Italians, we'd have dug the sewer by hand already. I dug plenty of sewers myself by hand on the lower lake road. Because people didn't want to dig them, I dug them. But go ahead, do whatever you want to
What
do.
I'm looking for is
I'm not
like when the
voting
village
for
board
this
went down, when he sends out a proposal and gets estimates from Lavella, MRD and such. He gets a list of this, it's a breakdown. That's all I'm asking for, that's all I'm asking for. I'm 110% for the project, but
So you'd like to see a breakdown of the engineer's
yeah,
estimate.
even a roadway,
Estimate
when they're
for-
redoing, East William Street, he gets a breakdown what it'll cost, to have the old,
Yeah.
or binder, but it's a breakdown of how much it is for some of the stone or the materials too. It's not,
all of this stuff is
it's
produced.
just, this is how much it's gonna cost.
So just
Yeah,
That's all
so,
I'm asking for, is just something to look at.
Yeah, and how many cubic yards is the hole? How many cubic yards are they thinking? How much they take into the landfill? These are reasonable questions.
so if we table it,
Yeah, so now we're.
it's just tabled. And then,
We don't have rules, specific rules that say you have to act on it any time. So you would call the next meeting, so you make some motion to turn it off the table.
Just kind of qualify into old business, right?
Yeah, I mean, our rules are just not as specific, so we look at whatever Robert says, but.
Okay.
Generally, that's how it goes.
it's underneath more than table.
Frank did.
I did.
I'm good with that. I mean, I have to take a look at it. You're an expert at looking at it, stuff like that.
I
Somebody.
gotta get my arms around some of the detail. There has gotta be an accounting somewhere. The state doesn't give money in. Just, so.
There's a pile
Yes,
of paperwork.
yes, so
So
I
just
think,
for my edification, what I'm hearing is you guys are tabling it, Joe, you're gonna get the engineer's estimate so that, and produce it to this board, or to Don specifically on behalf. And then you guys can come back to the table and determine if those are reasonable costs. Is
Yeah,
that what
pretty
I'm
much.
hearing?
Then, yeah, maybe the 105,000 is enough to do the job.
Well, they're
I mean,
saying it's
this-
not,
this
so
guy is
let's, so
saying-
we gotta
The
see,
engineer
figure out
is
what he's
saying
saying.
203,000. Listen, they couldn't even call the landfill to find out the right amount for the tonnage. How can I trust them on anything else?
But is that the
That
same
is the
people?
simplest thing in the world to do.
It's their engineers who didn't call the landfill?
It's not that they didn't call it.
Oh.
They didn't, Joe.
It's,
Because
Well, they
I
didn't
wouldn't
test the
put
stuff yet.
$30 a
They-
I don't think the landfill could give a quote.
They had to test the
How come you
materials
said
first.
55? Well, I'm meeting with Kyle, we'll talk to Kyle after. There's too many, man, there's too much black here. Can't see, too much cloud, too much Canadian smoke.
All right.
Do we need to vote that is going to be tabled, or are we good with just the one motion? All right, so we have the motion and the second.
I vote to table it.
I'll work the table, with the information.
I'll move the table.
And I'm gonna correct myself, we don't take it off the table at your next meeting, then it's dead. So that's your next meeting, you'll take it off.
Whether we hold a special meeting or it's just the August meeting. Okay.
And there's a picture for the next time, like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We can meet before that, yeah, let's leave it.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I'm sure Flapper has a timeline for this.
Yeah, I think
I'm
we're
not
gonna be meeting.
against the project, let's get it done, but I don't think we've already got work. We're, I mean,
We're gonna be meeting pretty quickly.
is that fine with me? Yeah.
So just for clarity, and is the detail of the estimate okay, or do you want to actually see them spend the 105 first?
Do I want to,
Then spend the 105 first.
I just want to make sure that we don't come back and end up in the system.
According to Esther, right, R 105 is for what the contractor didn't do correctly, right?
It's for, it's soil stabilization.
Probably suitability.
Suitability.
It sounds like they just gave you a rough,
It
what
might
it would
be
normally
for
cost
soil
for
sampling
non-contaminated
And test.
things to be dumped. And then when they tested it, it was like, oops,
Moving the debris,
this is gonna cost us more.
moving the debris to the landfill
To cover
and
specific
filling the
costs
thing
related to
with
direct
stone. If there's
soils.
not gonna be a basement, it's gonna be on a slab. For filling it, we're not paying for the slab, obviously.
No, it's to
We're
cover
just paying for
specific
filling
costs
in the
related to
hole, so-
correcting soil stability issues resulting from the demolition process. Is what the last resolution said, and at both sites, at both sites.
At how many sites?
The
Both sites.
55 sites that are involved in the project.
So it's cost for both.
Mhm.
So it's two holes, Frank.
All right.
Two holes cost more than one.
We tabled it and we're gonna get the estimates.
And is that gonna be set?
Is that-
Yeah, I'll be calling, tomorrow I'll call the highway superintendent, find out how much it costs, so, fill in the hole.
Okay.
I know
But if
that-
we provide, if we provide
stone.
you the estimate,
Everybody uses.
we can't provide you what they spent because they haven't done anything because they're what. Can we provide you with a detailed estimate
So,
of what,
so.
and you can decide
all right,
whether or not.
So they're
it's
gonna
reasonable.
provide some estimates, okay? They better have some numbers
Okay.
that I can, look at. You know, like how many cubic feet is the hole? You know, and how many cubic feet, 1 ton, how many cubic feet does that fill? They better have all these numbers so I can do it on my calculator. I'm not gonna, call 1 million people to find out all that information. They better provide it all so I can verify it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that we can do that. We have the ability to do that. So yeah, I think if we table it, we'll get organized and we'll call another meeting and we'll either provide the documentation or have somebody come in and explain either way. So, yeah, let's keep that tabled and then drive through the rest of this agenda, hopefully, and out of here. So, Seneca Housing is going well. We had all sorts of change orders. We got through the 500,000 from the county successfully, documented, dispersed, spent, paperwork done. And that's nice for ARPA and that process. Thank you. With that project in general, we had about a $130,000 contingency. And we had a similar issue with foundations and things from previous demolition jobs that had to come up. And we were able to navigate that through because we were part of the process from the start. And that came out, their initial rough order of magnitude on that one was 127,000, and that one came out at 89, and we're completely out of the ground on that one. So that's the update for that. Village of Ovid property acquisition. So last meeting, we had discussed potentially going out and trying to find some more sites to generate some more projects. And with the technical assistance funding and the capital funding looking down the road, we reached out to the folks that own the corner in Ovid, not where the Big M was, but where was it a pizza place? That burned in 2013. It's adjacent to an existing site we had down there that we tore down a number of years ago. So with this purchase, we would basically have that corner and then part of the alleyway behind downtown. This would really complement what the county planning department has going on with the Ovid revitalization plan that's getting underway right now. There's also the Ovid comprehensive plan that's happening. And the folks gave us a quote of $70,000 of what they would accept for a purchase offer for it. Considering the market activity in the area and some of the prices that have recently been spent for similar properties where the Big M was, I think this is a reasonable offer. And I think, thinking about our experience with the dry cleaner and the bowling alley and site assembly in downtown Waterloo, we have the funding and we have the opportunity to get this site and put it on a track to development with the technical assistance funds that are available for application right now. So I'm hoping the board will consider this resolution and approve us moving forward with submitting an official purchase offer of $70,000 for those 3 parcels.
Is that contingent on the funding?
We have funding,
Oh, you already got it.
yes.
I'm sorry, did you say it's next to your current person?
Yes, it's Jason.
I just want to make sure.
Right, so this would be out of the LBI 2 funds that we had and some amount of money set aside for acquisitions.
All right, so that's not a resolution.
It is,
Well, that, we're not, you're just giving us updates.
yeah, you're right. All right, I'll keep going. And I could be going on leave at any day, but definitely by the 12th, the doctors say. So in the meantime, a little bit of housekeeping. We have a resolution appointing Tracy as the New York Land Bank Association representative. So when they have the association meetings, Tracy can log in and they can count for a quorum and vote and fully participate. And that would be a great benefit to us while I'm out. And the last piece is our line of credit. We utilize a line of credit. We're hoping to increase it to 300,000. We have authorization up to 250,000 right now, I believe, from this board. We've worked with ESL to increase it to 300,000, and this would enable us to cash flow draws and funding to Seneca Housing over the next couple of months, considering the reimbursement model and all of that. It just would greatly increase our ability to make these projects continue to cash flow. Then we're hoping for an executive session, and let's vote on these resolutions.
Okay, thank you, Jim. So the first resolution, 2626, was tabled, so we'll go to 2627, amending resolution 2525, authorizing an additional $50,000 for a line of credit up to 300,000. Everybody in favor?
I'm in favor.
So we got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Oh, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passed. And then the next resolution is 2628. Let's see, is this the one appointing Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So we're appointing Tracy as our temporary representative for as long as it needs to be to the New York State Land Bank Association. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
second. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Everybody was in favor of that. And then the last resolution, 2629, authorizing the acquisition of 3 over properties for $70,000. Is there a motion for that?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All righty. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Nobody was opposed, so it's passed unanimously. And next is the attorney's update. Do you have anything you want to say?
Let's just sign the paperwork for 19 Locust Street, so we just need to double check on the and get into nothing there. You heard a lot about what I've been doing, so we can get that. And I but I am requesting going to executive session so I can tell you about the litigation costs. What was that I got?
All right, okay. Treasurer?
We can skip that, but
Okay. We'll postpone that. Is there any new business? So is it under 109A?
1051D,
Oh, 105.1.
which is potential litigation.
Okay, so, I make a motion that we go into executive session under section 105.1E of, the civil practice law.
It's the open meeting law.
Open meetings law, to discuss, legal issues. And you got a second for that?
Second.
Okay. And who are we gonna allow into the executive session? Everybody that's here right now? Okay, we're just gonna shut off the recorder, right?
No further action should be taken afterwards, right? So I could just turn it off this time?
Yeah.
The only thing I have left is adjournment, right? Because we did all the resolutions.
Yeah.
So all those in favor of going to executive session with the folks that are in the room right now, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so we're in executive session.
Okay, so